Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales that we're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I never imagined I'd be here, putting my soul on display for strangers to dissect. But sometimes, the weight of betrayal leaves no room for silence. My name is Daniel Harper, and for 10 years, I was a man who believed in fairy tales. I thought I'd found my happily ever after with Ava, the woman who stole my breath the moment I saw her. We met in college. Ava was magnetic, the kind of woman who could make a room hum with energy just by walking into it. She had a way of making you feel like the most important person in the world. And me? I was the lucky guy who got to hold her hand. Together, we built a life people envied. Laughter-filled dinners, stolen kisses at sunset, and promises whispered in the dark. We had everything: 2 beautiful daughters, a charming house, and what I thought was a bond unbreakable. But bonds can break. They can be shattered in the quietest, most insidious ways, leaving you gasping for air. The first crack appeared in whispers I ignored. Ava started working late a lot. She'd brush off my concern with casual excuses, deadlines, or Ethan and I are tied up on a big project. Ethan. That name would come to haunt me. At first, I didn't think twice about her new colleague. I trusted Ava with everything. Why wouldn't I? We had a decade of memories to back us up. But over time, her laughter faded, her touch grew colder, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Late one night, Ava came home long after the girls had gone to bed. She had that look again, distant like her body was there, but her soul was somewhere else. As I watched her brush past me, offering nothing but a muttered good night, I felt the first ember of doubt ignite in my chest. What was happening to us? I brushed it off. Work stress, I told myself. Every couple has their rough patches. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. My wife was slipping away, and I had no idea why. Until the day my world came crashing down. It was an ordinary afternoon when I stumbled across the email that changed everything. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even suspicious. I was cleaning up files on our shared laptop, trying to sort through the clutter. That's when I saw it, a message from Ethan. The subject line was innocuous, but something about it made me click. What I found inside was a punch to the gut. Explicit, intimate, devastating. The words burned into my brain. Phrases meant for someone she loved, someone she desired. But not me. Ava wasn't just working late with Ethan. She was in love with him, in lust with him, building a secret life behind my back. My stomach churned, my hands shook, and for a moment, I thought I might throw up. I wanted to confront her right then and there, to shout and scream and demand answers. But rage gave way to something colder, something sharper. If I was going to take her down, I needed more than just one email. I needed the full story. So, I made a decision. I would pretend nothing had changed. I would smile, laugh, and act like the doting husband, all while digging into her lies. That night, as Ava lay beside me, scrolling through her phone, I stared at the ceiling, plotting my next move. If she wanted secrets, I'd become a master of them. Over the next few weeks, I gathered evidence, texts, emails, bank statements. I even installed spyware on her devices. What I found made my blood boil. Their affair wasn't a fleeting mistake. It was a calculated betrayal. They'd been meeting in hotels, sharing intimate weekends in other cities, and even using a secret account to fund their escapades. Every detail was a dagger to the heart, but I swallowed the pain and pressed on. It wasn't just about uncovering the truth. It was about building my case. For Ava, this was just a game of deceit. For me, it was war. The nights were the hardest. Lying next to her, knowing she'd spent the day in another man's arms, was almost unbearable. I'd hear her soft breathing, see her peaceful face, and feel a bitter cocktail of rage and heartbreak. But I wouldn't let her see it. Not yet. Every moment of feigned ignorance brought me closer to the endgame. Days turned into weeks, and I became an actor in my own life, playing the part of a clueless husband. Every meal I shared with Ava felt like a cruel joke, her laughter ringing hollow, her eyes never quite meeting mine. But I played along. I cooked her favorite dinners, asked about her day, even feigned interest in the project she claimed to be working on with Ethan. Behind the scenes, I was relentless. I documented every text she sent, every late-night call she made. The spyware revealed intimate plans, hotel bookings, secret dinners, and messages dripping with promises she used to make to me. Each discovery felt like another stab to the heart, but I refused to falter. This was bigger than my pain. It was about justice. In those quiet moments, I thought about our daughters, Lily and Emma. They were too young to understand what was happening, and I vowed to shield them from the fallout. They didn't deserve to lose their innocence because of Ava's betrayal. I tucked them in every night with stories of princesses and knights, all while carrying the weight of their mother's lies. I wouldn't let her destroy their world, not without a fight. Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, while scrolling through the spyware logs, I stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. Ethan was married. His wife, Caroline, was an unassuming woman I'd seen at school events, quiet, reserved, with a kindness in her eyes that now seemed tragic. I realized I wasn't the only one drowning in betrayal. Caroline deserved the truth as much as I did. I orchestrated a chance meeting at a school pickup. Lily and Emma often played with Caroline's kids, so it wasn't hard to strike up a conversation. At first, I kept things light, small talk about homework and playdates. But as the weeks went by, I began to plant seeds of doubt, subtle remarks about Ava and Ethan's close working relationship. I watched as Caroline's expression shifted, her brow furrowing just enough to tell me she suspected something wasn't right. When I finally revealed the truth, it was devastating. I showed her the texts, the emails, the hotel confirmations. Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might collapse. But then something remarkable happened. The sadness in her eyes hardened into resolve. "We need to make them pay," she said, her voice trembling with fury. In that moment, Caroline became my ally. Together, we crafted a plan, not just to expose Ava and Ethan, but to dismantle the lives they'd built on lies. The day of reckoning came on a date Ava should have remembered, our wedding anniversary. I played my part to perfection, surprising her with a planned weekend getaway. "We need this," I told her, watching her feigned guilt morph into relief. She agreed, likely figuring she could squeeze in another lie to juggle her two lives. What Ava didn't know was that Caroline and I were steps ahead. Ethan had been lured into a business trip, arranged by Caroline, to the same hotel I'd booked for Ava and me. The pieces were falling into place, and all that remained was execution. The evening started innocently enough. Ava and I arrived at the hotel, and she played her part well, smiling and holding my hand like the loving wife she pretended to be. But I wasn't fooled. After dinner, I made an excuse about needing to check on a work call and slipped out of the room. Caroline was waiting in the lobby, her expression a mirror of my own, calm, calculated, and ready. We made our way to Ethan's room, where we knew Ava would soon arrive. As we waited, adrenaline coursed through me. This was it. Months of planning, countless sleepless nights. It all came down to this. When Ava and Ethan entered the room, they looked relaxed, laughing softly as they closed the door. It was sickening to watch, but I held my composure. Caroline and I gave them a few moments to settle before we struck. I knocked on the door sharply, then flung it open before they could react. The scene froze in time. Ava and Ethan stared at us, their faces contorting into masks of shock and horror. Ava's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ethan paled, looking as if he might bolt for the window. "Surprise," I said, my voice cold and steady. "I know everything." Caroline stepped forward, her glare fixed on Ethan. "And so do I." The room exploded with chaos. Ava stammering, Ethan trying to form excuses, but we didn't let them. I calmly set my phone on the dresser, recording every second of their humiliation. "You've been lying to us for over a year," I said, my voice steady despite the fury boiling beneath the surface. "Now the world will see who you really are." Ava broke down, tears streaming down her face as she begged for forgiveness. But her cries fell on deaf ears. There was no room for reconciliation here, only justice. The fallout was swift and brutal. Armed with undeniable proof, I filed for divorce the next day. Caroline did the same. The news spread like wildfire through our social circles, and neither Ava nor Ethan could escape the judgment. Ava lost everything: her reputation, her friends, even the respect of our daughters. The court awarded me full custody, citing her infidelity as evidence of instability. Ethan fared no better. His company terminated him, citing a breach of conduct, and Caroline ensured he left their home with nothing more than a suitcase. As for me, I moved forward. The scars of betrayal lingered, but they didn't define me. I focused on giving Lily and Emma the life they deserved, a life filled with love, honesty, and hope. And when Ava came crawling back, pleading for a second chance, I gave her the only answer she deserved. No, Ava's tears didn't move me. Her pleas for forgiveness echoed in the empty space between us, falling flat against the icy wall I'd built. In the weeks following the hotel confrontation, she tried every tactic to regain control: apologies, promises, and even manipulative reminders of our shared past. "Daniel, think about the girls," she begged during one of her futile attempts to talk to me. "We can fix this for them. They need us to stay together." I met her gaze with unyielding resolve. "They need stability, Ava, not lies. And certainly not a mother who prioritizes her lover over her family." Her face crumpled, but I didn't waver. I had spent months suffering in silence, and now the truth was a weapon I wielded without mercy. Ava's choices had obliterated our marriage, and I had no intention of letting her manipulate her way back into my life. Behind the scenes, I worked tirelessly to secure my daughter's future. My lawyer, an astute and determined man, ensured every piece of evidence I had gathered was meticulously prepared for the court. I wasn't just fighting for custody. I was fighting for their chance to grow up in a home untainted by Ava's betrayal. Caroline proved to be a formidable ally. While I focused on my family, she took the offensive against Ethan. Her anger was a firestorm, consuming every vestige of the life they had shared. She exposed his affair to his employer, ensuring he was dismissed in disgrace. She reached out to their social circle, making sure the truth spread like wildfire. Ethan's downfall was swift and merciless. The partnership Caroline and I had forged during those months felt surreal. We were united by shared pain, but it wasn't a bond born of attraction. It was one of justice. She once confided in me during a late-night call, her voice heavy with emotion. "Do you think we'll ever trust again?" she asked. I didn't have an answer for her then. The wounds were too fresh, the betrayal too raw. But I promised her what I was beginning to believe for myself, that the pain wouldn't define us. We could rebuild, slowly, deliberately, and on our own terms. When the day of the custody hearing arrived, I stood in court with unwavering confidence. Ava sat across the room, her once commanding presence diminished to a shadow of itself. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a misunderstood woman, someone who had simply lost her way. But the mountain of evidence I presented told a different story. Photos, texts, bank statements, a timeline of deceit that unraveled her carefully crafted facade. When the judge spoke the final verdict, awarding me full custody of Lily and Emma, I felt a rush of relief, so profound it nearly brought me to my knees. Ava's expression was a mix of shock and devastation. She looked at me as though I had ripped her heart out, but I knew better. She had done that to herself. The weeks following the custody ruling were a whirlwind. The house, once a battleground of unspoken resentment, became a sanctuary for the girls and me. I painted their rooms with bright colors, filled the walls with their artwork, and made it a point to create new memories. Weekend trips to the beach, movie nights under homemade blanket forts, these moments became my anchor. I started seeing a therapist, not because I felt broken, but because I wanted to understand myself better. I needed to confront the emotions I had buried under layers of anger and resolve. The sessions were tough, forcing me to revisit the darkest moments, but they also gave me clarity. Ava's betrayal was not a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of her choices. About 6 months after the dust had settled, I met someone. Claire wasn't like Ava. She didn't have that magnetic charm or an air of untouchable perfection. Instead, she had a quiet strength that drew me in, a warmth that felt genuine in a way I hadn't realized I missed. Our relationship unfolded slowly, without the urgency or blind passion that had defined my past. Claire didn't try to fix me, and I didn't expect her to. She was simply there, a steady presence as I navigated the complexities of being a single father. The girls adored her, and I found myself smiling more often, laughing in ways that felt real. Claire reminded me that life could be beautiful again, even after the deepest heartbreak. Ava's life, on the other hand, was a mess. The fallout of her affair had left her isolated and ostracized. Ethan had disappeared after Caroline's ruthless takedown, leaving Ava to pick up the pieces alone. She moved into a cramped apartment on the other side of town, far from the life she once knew. Her visits with the girls were awkward and strained, her attempts to connect overshadowed by the lingering consequences of her actions. Every now and then, I catch a glimpse of her at school events or in the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, as though the weight of her choices had physically diminished her. There was no satisfaction in seeing her like that, just a quiet acknowledgement that she had made her bed. 1 year after everything had unfolded, I found myself sitting on the porch of our home, watching Lily and Emma chase fireflies in the fading light. Their laughter filled the air, a symphony of innocence and joy. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Ava's betrayal had been a crucible, forging me into a stronger, more resolute version of myself. It had taught me that life's greatest trials often pave the way for its most profound blessings. My daughters were thriving, and I was learning to love again, not just Claire, but also the person I had become. As I watched the sun dip below the horizon, I whispered a quiet promise to myself. The past would no longer define me. My future belonged to me, and it was brighter than I could have ever imagined. Life continued to move forward, and with each passing day, the wounds left by Ava's betrayal began to fade. Lily and Emma adapted quickly to their new normal, their resilience serving as a constant reminder of what truly mattered. Their laughter filled our home, and I poured every ounce of love and energy into making their childhood one filled with joy and stability. Claire became a steady presence in our lives. Her kindness and patience allowed me to lower my guard piece by piece. She never pressured me to talk about the past, but listened intently when I chose to share. Slowly, our relationship deepened, not in the fiery, whirlwind way of my past, but with the calm assurance of two people building something real. On weekends, we'd take the girls to the park or spend lazy afternoons baking cookies. Claire had a way of making even the simplest moments feel special, and for the first time in years, I felt truly happy. She became a friend to the girls, not a replacement for their mother, but someone who loved them without hesitation. Ava's life remained a stark contrast to mine. The consequences of her actions continued to ripple through her world. Her once vibrant social life had evaporated, leaving her isolated and burdened by regret. The rare times we spoke were strictly about the girls. She often tried to apologize, to justify, but I refused to engage. "You made your choice, Ava," I told her firmly during one conversation. "Now you have to live with it." The girls, though still young, seemed to sense the distance between themselves and their mother. They rarely mentioned her unless prompted and showed little enthusiasm for the occasional visits. Ava struggled to connect with them, her guilt erecting invisible barriers she couldn't overcome. She was a shadow of the woman I once knew, lost in a storm of her own making. About 1.5 years after the divorce, Ava requested a meeting. Reluctantly, I agreed, curious but wary of her intentions. We met at a quiet cafe, the air between us heavy with unspoken tension. She looked tired, older than her years, her once bright eyes dulled by regret. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," she began, her voice trembling. "But I need you to know how sorry I am for everything." I studied her, searching for sincerity. "Sorry doesn't erase the choices you made," I said evenly. "It doesn't fix what you broke." "I know," she whispered. "I've lost everything, my family, my friends, my daughters. I don't know how to move forward. For a moment, I felt a pang of pity. Ava had torn apart her life with her own hands, and now she was left to sift through the wreckage. But pity wasn't the same as forgiveness, and I wasn't ready to offer her that. You move forward the same way I did, I said finally. One day at a time, you rebuild. But that's something only you can do, Ava. In the years that followed, I focused on the life I had rebuilt. Lily and Emma continued to thrive, excelling in school and filling our home with laughter. Claire became an integral part of our family, her steady presence grounding us in ways I hadn't thought possible. We married in a small, intimate ceremony 2 years after the divorce. The girls were ecstatic, walking Claire down the aisle together as though they'd been waiting for this moment all along. As I exchanged vows with her, I felt a profound sense of peace. This wasn't just a new chapter, it was a new book entirely. Ava's presence in our lives dwindled over time. She continued to struggle, her attempts to reconnect with the girls often met with indifference. I didn't revel in her downfall, but neither did I mourn for the woman she had become. She was simply a cautionary tale, a reminder of how easily love and trust could be destroyed. It's been 5 years since that fateful night in the hotel room, and my life is unrecognizable from the one I thought I'd have. The pain of betrayal no longer lingers, replaced by gratitude for the lessons it taught me. I learned the value of patience, the strength of resilience, and the power of love, the kind that heals rather than hurts. Lily and Emma are my greatest joy, and Claire has become my partner in every sense of the word. Together, we've created a home filled with warmth and laughter, a life built on honesty and mutual respect. As I sit on the porch, watching the girls play in the yard with Claire, I can't help but smile. The sun dips below the horizon, casting the world in a golden glow. The scars of the past remain, but they no longer define me. They're just reminders of a journey that led me here, to a place of peace, love, and hope. And for that, I am eternally grateful.